This is a tutorial for how to make these pin charms or wearable altars. I make these in two styles. This one is just different fabrics, and then in the back here I've got a little packet of crystal chips. I don't know if you can see, it's like not totally flat there. So these are black tourmaline. And then I also make these just felt badges. These don't have any crystal chips in them. These images are just printed out. I print them on my inkjet printer. I do have a video about how to do those images. I have already printed a bunch of images that I'm going to use to create these pin charms. I sized them to work with 2-inch safety pins. So the images themselves are 1¼ inches wide. That is because the maximum width for fabric to fit through the pin is 1½ inches, and I need a little bit on either side to sew the image down. So same thing here, the maximum width for your fabrics is 1½ inches. So I cut a strip of felt 1½ inches wide, and then I literally just eyeball it. How long do I want it to be? How much space on either side? Make sure you leave space so that you can sew up the bottom and so you can sew across the top. This one for St. Michael, I didn't have quite enough to double it all the way over, but that's not a problem, I don't think. So the back side will only go partially down. It'll work just fine. So because I'm doing these for my shop, I'm going to do these as a batch. I'm going to get a bunch of them ready before I sew so that I just sit down at my sewing machine and sew them all at once. But you don't have to do a bazillion of these all at one time. And you don't have to have printed out images. Use fabrics to symbolize what you're going for. So if I was doing a self-love pin charm, I would use pink fabrics. If I was making a pin charm for protection, I would use black fabrics. Or because I come from an Italian-American family, I use red fabric for protection. You might have fabric that has an important symbol right on it, like pine cones, I believe, are for Dionysus. You might use a fabric with a little beetle on it and cut out the beetle. I think you get the idea. Use colors and symbols to make your pin charm. This is a backing fabric to make a pin charm like this one with the crystals in it. And I'll just mention, you don't have to put crystals in it. The colors and the symbols do the work that you're intending it to do. So this is a piece of cotton fabric, and it is 3 inches, almost 3 inches across. I cut this one a little too short, but I would do 3 inches across and then fold it in half and iron it so we've got a nice crisp edge there. And this is plain black, but you don't have to use plain black, right? This is the backing fabric I used for this pin charm. Now we get to do the fun of picking out all the stuff. So first of all, we've got our safety pin. There's 2 bars here. Don't attach anything to the movable bar because you need that for attaching it to your clothes or your bag or wherever you're going to put it. So this backing fabric goes through here to the bottom immovable bar. And the length of it, it just doesn't even matter right now. We're just getting an idea of how we're going to have our finished product. I really love florals. I like this piece a lot. This is just, again, a little scrap that I found in my pile. And it's just the right length. So I think I'm going to make this a little bit shorter. This is about 2 inches, which is a great length. And then I could layer this on top. It'll look something like this. You can see I love raw edges. I feel like they offer more energy in the project, but you do what feels right to you. Art witches know what feels right, and we just do it. I've looked through my other black fabrics, and I just don't want to cover this. So I'm going to leave it as is. I'm only going to use these 2 fabrics, the plain black and then this floral. I also adjusted it down so I have this full view of this one, leaving a little extra at the top because I'll need to sew across there. So I'm going to trim this extra that's hanging out at the bottom. So because I'm not planning to use more fabrics, when I make these, I like to use 3 fabrics because I think it gives a really nice visual appeal. But you'll see I also didn't do any embroidery because there's already a lot going on. Where here, I will probably add a contrasting color when I sew across the top and maybe embroider a design to highlight this particular plant. I might do a little like slow stitching around the outside. I'm also going to attach this bead to the side. Just like with this one, I am going to attach a bead through that loop in the safety pin. The finished product will look something like this. Once you have all your pieces picked out, everything's cut, everything looks the way you want, you're going to sew it. So the first thing I do is across the side. If you've got a sewing machine, a couple things. You can either just do a zigzag and then a straight stitch. I love to leave these raw edges. I love when it starts to fray a little bit. Or you can, if you've got a serger or a serger type stitch, go across the side. Leave one side open. So you're just going to do the bottom and then the side. Then you're going to add your crystals and feed that back piece through the pin. When you sew up here, or if you sew your crystals into a little packet, you're trapping the crystals in at that point. And then it's just a matter of, hand sewing or machine stitching to get all those pieces together. Here's a few more examples. This is just a plain felt one, and then I've got a little bead hanging off the side. No special embroidery, I just did a straight stitch to hold that image down. These images are interfaced, so they're not going to fray too badly. Here's another one where I did just simple embroidery to frame the image, no bead. This one, I tacked the fabric down here across each of these little bars in the lace, and that's how it's being held across the top at the pin. This one, I just have a bow, just tying it shut. This one, I've just got a little embroidery across the top, and then to hold the two pieces of felt together, I just tacked them down at the bottom. You get the idea. The sky is the limit with these. Do where the spirit leads you. Use contrasting threads, use matching threads, do what you want. I find these so fun to make. They're such a joy to pick out the colors and the symbols and to put them together. They make great gifts. They're great for yourself. Let me know if you have any questions.